Hello everybody, welcome to your EFL Championship Hot Takes for round 29, and the Championship is completely mental, but you knew that already, okay? The playoff race below the top four is wide open. No, you knew that already as well. Norwich are way better when Josh Sargent is fit. Yep, you also knew that as well. We need something hot. Coventry for the playoffs? Luton? Definitely double relegation? I don't know. Let's get into it. You get your hot takes in the comments, and we'll start up at the top of the table, where you will see the reason why I said the Championship is completely mental. Sheffield United, second place, home to Hull, 22nd place. They lost 3-0. Sunderland, home to Plymouth, 4th versus 24th. Plymouth, an abject state in midweek, 5-0 down at half-time. A 2-2 draw. So, a couple of slips there at the top of the table, and the round we all know completes on Monday night with Burnley versus Leeds. The door, like the playoff door, is wide open for either Burnley or Leeds to take advantage. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's just talk about Sheffield United and Hull. We did that as the watch along, so you can go back and check my real-time reaction to all 2 hours of that coverage. And I just think, in the end, Hull just played it beautifully, didn't they? They nicked the early goal on the break. They managed to hang in there. Not sure about the offside goal for Campbell. That was tight. But they played the circumstances beautifully, didn't they? And Chris Wilder has gambled many times this season and won. This time he lost. Hull took their chances, and then it got loose at the end, and they nicked the third goal and did what very few teams have been able to do. Well, I was going to say very few teams have been able to win at Bramall Lane. Only Burnley had done it previously. Very few teams have actually been able to score past Sheffield United. So to score 3 was pretty sensational. And I suppose if you're Chris Wilder and Sheffield United, you say, okay, end of a 3-game week, all got a bit loose. Players coming in the transfer window. Players coming back. Debuts for Cannon and Brereton Diaz. Write it off. Go on another run. And we'll see what damage is done on Monday night. But they have got away with one a little bit, because Sunderland haven't really taken advantage. Yes, they've closed up by 1 point. But we were all saying at the end of that Sheffield United game, this is on a plate for Sunderland now. They know Burnley or Leeds or both are going to drop points on Monday night. Go and beat bottom of the league Plymouth. Well, they went behind, then they took the lead, and then there's a last-minute equaliser. And I feel loath to criticise Sunderland because they've been so good, and they are the underdog in this race, given they're up against 3 parachute teams up at the top of the table, and they're a young team with a new manager, and they've been in League One recently. But it was on a plate, wasn't it, for the Black Cats home to Plymouth, and they've just slipped up. They've been brilliant this season. Would have been great if they could have got the win, but fair play Plymouth. It took some cojones to go up there and bounce back, and we know these top teams are absolutely unbelievable at home. I think Sunderland unbeaten at home. Yes, they still are. So fair play Plymouth, but yeah, Sunderland had the big chance to take advantage of the Sheffield United slip, and they didn't. We will find out the context of these shocks up at the top of the table on Monday night, when it is Burnley versus Leeds. And I have to say, the stress for both Burnley and Leeds has dropped now, hasn't it? Because you start this week thinking, okay, you're playing last. What you really don't want is the other 2 teams to win. So you know all the pressure is on you, because if you then lose the game and you're either Leeds or Burnley, everybody picked up wins except you. And there's a huge swing, 3 points for every one of the teams. But Sheffield United have lost and Sunderland have drawn. So all of a sudden now, even though the win could be vital, the draw isn't actually a disaster for either side now, which does just change the dynamic a little bit. However, if Leeds win, it's massive. They will go 6 points clear of Burnley in 3rd place, and they'll be 4 points clear of Sheffield United. Leeds know if they go to Burnley and get the job done, it's open water, isn't it? And they are, if they're not favourites already, they become hot favourites. And, you know, you start counting down games, don't you? That will be a 6-point gap with, where will we be, 17 to play. And then all of a sudden you're saying, okay, all you've got to do is be 5 points better than Burnley, and however many it is down to Sunderland. God, it will be 7 points gap and 6 points better than Sunderland, and you are in the Premier League. However, if Burnley win, it is chock-a-block up there, isn't it? If Burnley win, they'll go above Sheffield United. They'll be tied with Leeds. Look, if they beat Leeds by 4 goals, they'll actually go top. I can't see that happening. But 59, 59, 58. And I should have learned this round about saying I can't see that happening because the first hot take is the Championship is mental. Give me your thoughts, especially ahead of this massive game between Burnley and Leeds. Should be brilliant. We'll be doing it on the watch-along. Let's move on to the wide open race that is the playoffs. And I'm sorry, West Brom changed manager. Weird change of style. They won 5-1. Middlesbrough, so inconsistent. We'll talk about Preston in a bit. Blackburn are on a losing run. Bristol City, well, they win home games, but not necessarily away. Watford are about to sack the manager again. And we'll talk about Sheffield Wednesday and Norwich after their wins. But what I'm saying is there is no consistent team there favourite for 5th place. We would have had West Brom and Middlesbrough as hot favourites, but West Brom with the change from Corber on to Mowbray, how's that going to manifest itself? And Middlesbrough are so inconsistent, aren't they? It's crazy. Anyway, West Brom, we're not going to criticise them today because they won 5-1 against Pompey, but this does kind of go into the Championship is bonkers mental narrative because West Brom under Carlos Corber did not win games 5-1. They didn't go for the throat of teams and all-out attack with Grady Diangana getting double from the attacking off the front positions. And okay, Mikey Johnston was good, but he seemed to be having an absolute free-for-all. John Swift popping up with a goal as well. And Tony Mowbray was famed his first time around at West Brom for, both teams to score loads of goals. It was like that at Blackburn. He is an open manager, and maybe West Brom are going to change all of a sudden. Will they change for the better or for the worse? Because we did like their durability under Carlos Corber. But so West Brom go 5th with that 5-1 win, but it's a new manager. It's all going to change. We need a bigger sample size to judge them. We'll talk about Middlesbrough because we've got to give Preston credit in a minute. Blackburn we need to talk about because they lost to Bristol City in the Andy Vyman derby. Of course, he scored. Are Bristol City a playoff team? Are they a top 6 team? I don't know. They've won 4 on the trot at home. Don't really win many away games lately, do they? Twine stuck in a free kick. Wells, bit of a deflected goal. I don't know. Blackburn are on a bad run. I can't sit here and get all excited about Bristol City because every time I do, I'm like, right, here they go. Liam Manning's got it going. He's a knowledgeable Championship manager, building up a good body of work. And Bristol City, we always say they've got the infrastructure. They can do this, and then they don't, and they fall off. So it's a bit like talking about Stoke getting away from the bottom. They always end up 16th in the same way Bristol City will always end up repelled like a magnet away from the playoff places. But look, this is the season where people don't win away games and teams have good home records. And maybe with everyone having crappy away records, maybe all you need is a good home record and an average away record, and Bristol City can get in there. So they win, and it is key as well that they've beaten Blackburn and closed up to within a point on Rovers. So again, I'm reserving judgment on a load of these playoff teams. We'll talk about Watford in a minute because we'll talk about Coventry and their perfect week. Sheffield Wednesday, well, I don't know. We were all on the QPR train, weren't we? And it's QPR 0, Sheffield Wednesday 2. And the 2 hipster, foreign, brilliant manager performances from last season. It's Roll and Cifuentes. And Sheffield Wednesday go there and get the win. And fair play to Wednesday. I know we've been bigging up QPR's playoff credentials. So to go there and win is a great result. But Sheffield Wednesday are the 6th best team in the Championship over the past 14 games. A, that's a good sample size, 14 games. And B, everybody else is so inconsistent. I know when we're talking about teams coming from the middle or the lower reaches into, maybe the 3rd quartile, into the playoff positions, we normally say, oh God, you need top 4 form to do that, to really make up that difference. You're not going to this season, are you? As I keep saying, everyone's so damn inconsistent up ahead of them. So fair play, Danny Roll, in spite of Mr. Chansiri. He manages to keep everything going. Shea Charles re-signing is great. Callum Patterson bending one in the bottom corner, left-footed. I don't believe it. Great stuff. And Wednesday get the win. And they are in the shake-up, aren't they? They are 3 points off the playoffs in this silly race where basically, if anyone takes the next 12 games, I don't know, wins 7, draws 3, and loses 2, what would that be? Would that be your 24? Yeah, 24 points off your 12 games. They're pretty much going to be guaranteed a playoff place, aren't they? Unless we get a big rising tide at the top. But the points are going down the bottom of the table this weekend. Anyway, let's quickly talk about Norwich, and we've just got to talk about Josh Sargent, haven't we? Norwich have kind of been middling, but I said before, Norwich in terms of squad quality and championship livery and ability to, leverage their size relative to the league, and when they get a sniff of the playoffs, get in there. I don't know. Keep an eye on them. Sargent's back. Starts for the first time October 27th. Obviously, scores twice. 13 starts for Sargent, 11 goal contribs. I am contractually obliged to say, pound for pound, the best striker in the Premier League, even though nobody really knows. Premier League? Championship. Be worth a lot more than that if you're pound for pound the best striker in the Premier League. But, yeah, just if he plays in the Championship, A, he scores and gets assists, and B, Norwich tend to do all right, don't they? And they'll have Borja Sainz as well to come back. So keep an eye on Norwich. Big win. I don't want to pee on Norwich's strawberries here, but Swansea, they had to defend him for some of the goals where there seemed it's like half the goals were people having 3 seconds to line up an angled shot from inside the box and drill it into the corner. And I think Key had a pretty bad game, didn't he? The fullback there, a couple of mistakes for goals there. So, yes, it was a little bit of Norwich having fun and scoring and kind of playing well and things clicking. And Swansea, yeah, just odd. Since Luke Williams was linked with West Brom, they have been bad, haven't they? But keep your eyes on Norwich. If you're covering the Championship, always keep your eye on Norwich. Even if they're 18th, they'll still find their way towards the playoffs in the end, won't they? I've missed out. Who was I going to talk about? Great win for Preston. They beat Middlesbrough and Coventry as well. Perfect 3-game week for them. They have won all 3. We've got to mention Millwall a little bit. I covered their game. It was horrendous, but it was settled by a great goal. So we'll move swiftly on. I'll say well done, Preston. And Preston actually have fewer defeats than Middlesbrough, who they beat, which I think says a lot about Middlesbrough's consistency and Paul Heckingbottom pulling Preston away from the bottom there. Coventry will give it more time, but if you're going to have 3-game win streaks and 9-point weeks, you will move up the table. And God, as I've said this season, do a couple of those and you're definitely in the playoff race, aren't you? And Millwall, just in their little region of their own, they have moved above Swansea, haven't they? But they're neither nor and just want to move away from the bottom and get going under Alex Neil. Anyway, I've got Cardiff and Hull up there because they were the big beneficiaries down at the bottom. And I've been talking about a high tide at the bottom in respect to the fact that now everyone is above a point per game except the bottom 3. I will say a high tide only works if the bottom 3 can go with it. Else, hey, you just get... What was that season? Who did we have? Peterborough, Derby, and someone remind me in the comments. Was it Barnsley? Who else went down? Where they were miles away from everyone, and with about 6 games to go, everyone knew who was going down already. I can't remember what season that was, but I think I've got the right 3 teams. Just a huge gap. The fact that Pompey have got a game in hand as well means it really could be gnarly for Derby, Luton and Plymouth down at the bottom. But let's give Cardiff some credit. Are Cardiff the second coming of Barcelona 2009? No. But are they winning the fine margins? Are they playing well at home? Are they strong? Are they sturdy? Are they trending up under Omar Issa? Do they have a striker scoring goals? And Callum Robinson, 6 in 6. And one of those was only a 45-minute appearance. Yes. So they're leveraging a lot of things that make a big difference down at the bottom of the table. They're trending up. Hull are trending up as well. Ruben Selles now has 4 wins as Hull manager. Tim Volta had 3, so he's already surpassed him. We expected Hull to trend up given the squad. But I have to say, I expect Stoke to trend up, and I also expect Luton to trend up. But we've got to talk about Luton and Derby, who are marooned in the bottom 3. But, and this is the big problem. Let's move on to Luton and Derby now as it pertains to Cardiff and Hull's results. Big problem here for those teams down there, that as they are trending down, we'll leave off Plymouth today. They had a good result, didn't we? And we yeah, we didn't enjoy their watch along on Wednesday night. But Hull are in a good moment. Cardiff are in a good moment. Stoke have changed managers and will probably bounce. Portsmouth do really well at home. So you've got the combination of those four teams all arguably trending upwards, whilst Derby and Luton absolutely stink the place out. Derby moved into the bottom three courtesy of the Hull defeat. And obviously Cardiff beat Derby today in a head-to-head. And Paul Warne sounds very kind of resigned in his press conferences, doesn't he? I know some of the Derby fans who want the word resigned to be used in a different way for Paul Warne. He'll keep fighting, but, you know, it doesn't look good at the moment, and there's far better arguments for other sides pushing forward and getting away than there is for Derby. And all of that goodwill we had towards the Rams in the first half of the season, where they were doing really well at home. They were in the middle of the table. They were the best set play team in the league in terms of goals for, weren't they, for a time? Not seeing any of that. The bloom is very much off the rose there. And what the hell are Luton playing at? I mean, my God. This is very real now, and I'm still sat here, and you can say, Ben, you're an idiot. You need to get on the right page here with Luton, because I've been saying all season. I predicted Luton to finish third, I think, given they're a year-one parachute team. They're very well run, and Rob Edwards has been a very good manager at Forest Green and at Luton after a cup of tea at Watford as well. But it's all gone dreadfully, dreadfully wrong. And the chaos, the brilliant chaos of Luton at their best under Nathan Jones and Rob Edwards to a certain extent in the promotion run a couple of years ago, that's all just turned into an absolute mess, hasn't it? And the first half of that game against Millwall was utter dross. And when you take a team that thrives on chaos and wins and, you know, take those bits away, it looks a mess very, very quickly, doesn't it? And other than Carlton Morris running at some set pieces, they looked abject and out of it. And they've changed the manager, and he needs to get a tune out of them. Or, for the first time since Sunderland, we're going to have a back-to-back relegation team. And it was very different at Sunderland. They had the parachute payments, and the manager, the owner, Ellis Short, took them all out and just let them rot down the table. Whereas Luton are trying this. They've spent money on Mark McGuinness and Isaiah Jones, and they're expected to be high up, but it's just all gone terribly, terribly wrong. So threat level high at Derby and Luton. There we go. If I haven't covered your team, it's because I can't speak about everyone, and we'll try and get Sam Parkin to talk about me in a Championship Checking podcast, which will be on Tuesday, because we got to get this Burnley Leeds game out of the way first. It's going to be absolutely brilliant, and it's really going to set the narrative for the podcast. So hot takes today. As I say, tongue-in-cheek, the Championship is mental, but what huge surprises there for Hull winning at Sheffield United and for Plymouth getting that point up at Sunderland. Playoffs wide open, and right up at the top, I should finish that first little thought by saying the door is also wide open for Burnley or Leeds, but the draw is now not terrible after both of the other teams drop points. Can you talk to me about a Coventry playoff push? Can you talk to me about a Luton double relegation? They would be really hot takes. Otherwise, just a crazy weekend in the Championship to end a 3-game week. Let me know if you're at a game. Let me know your thoughts on anything I have said. We'll be back with Matt SB and the Premier League stuff on Monday. Sam will be back on Tuesday. But join me for the watch-along. Burnley versus Leeds on Monday night. Should be fantastic. And get your thoughts in the comments on the ever bonkers, insane, mental world of the EFL Championship.